It's not what you know, it's what you can prove. My man. And with NFL training camp around the corner, there are a bunch of new players in the NFL, a bunch of rookies who are trying to make their name in this league. It's not what they know, it's not who they know, it's not what school they went to, how many snaps they played. What can you prove now on the NFL level? What's going on, family? I'm your boy Mose Knows, and welcome back to another Friday afternoon show. Training camp is literally around the corner. We're going to touch on some of the few teams who are starting training camp early because rookies will be reporting. We're going to look at those teams. We're going to look at some of those rookies, and we're going to identify some names that I specifically am looking at to come in right away and make a name for themselves or attempt to make a name for themselves. So let's quickly just get started and see who is going to be reporting. So the earliest teams will be reporting to training camp is going to be July 18th. That's 4 days away. And you think it's already Friday afternoon. Saturday's going to blow by. That's the 15th. Sunday's going to blow by. That's the 16th. Monday's the 17th. And then Tuesday. Monday is always kind of a drag sometimes because for most of us, it's the start of our work week. Coming off of a weekend, got to get back into work, see what's going on and happening in the swing of things. But eventually Monday will coast right on by, and then we're right at Tuesday. So reporting on July 18th, teams that have rookies reporting for training camp: the Atlanta Falcons, Baltimore Ravens, the Buffalo Bills, the Kansas City Chiefs, the LA Chargers, the Miami Dolphins, New Orleans Saints, the New York Giants, and of course, my San Francisco 49ers. And then there are four teams that have players reporting on the next day, Wednesday, June 19th. That's going to be the Browns, the Broncos, the Lions, and then for some reason the Jets have everybody reporting on the 19th, both rookies and veterans. So we're going to focus on those teams. That's about eight, 9, 13 teams. We're going to focus on those first 13 teams. We're going to take a look at some of those rookies that I'm excited to see, who I think is going to make a big statement with their new team, or try to come in and make some noise. Before we get into that, shout out to my brother Eddie Glover, first one in the chat. He says, "My brother Mose, Ed, man, what's up, man? So good to see you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Love your support. I appreciate it so much. Your friendship that we've grown and developed over the years, man, it's unbelievable. So thank you so much for tuning in. Let's start in Atlanta. I actually was just talking about, shout out to Mrs. Mose Knows. I was just talking to her a couple days ago. We were talking about some upcoming trips for the season. She was talking about some trips from last year. If you guys have not been to Atlanta, into that stadium, the newly built stadium that stadium is immaculate. As one of the best stadiums I've ever been to. It's absolutely gorgeous, beautiful from the outside, even more beautiful from the inside. And the concessions, I mean, maybe I shouldn't be saying this because they're probably going to change it. Concessions were reasonably priced. I thought I was going to spend $15 for a soda. No, it was real. I got chicken fingers, fries, and a drink, and I spent like $12 for everything. You can ask fair to God. He was with me. We got concessions together, and we both were like, "Is this right?" Like, we wanted to ask, but then we looked at each other like, "No, just be quiet. If that's what they say it is, that's what they say it is." But I'm excited for the Atlanta Falcons. I think they're a young team. They've got some pieces. I think they do still have a way to go, but they're trying to build it the right way. And if all the pieces start to come together, I think they have something special. Obviously, you guys know I'm a 49ers fan. Most of my followers and people that are going to be on this show today our 49er fans. There have been some rumors, and I hate to keep talking about it, but I'm a football channel. There have been some rumors that the Atlanta Falcons may be, in the market for upgrading their quarterback. There's been some rumors that they've been poking around the 49ers headquarters and trying to get in touch with John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, their former offensive coordinator, and trying to see what is the availability of one Trey Lance. I think if they have a plan for Trey Lance, I think that probably can take defensively, I think they still need help. But offensively, I think Trey Lance added into that team, that might do some really, really special things. And I say that because of the first rookie who I think is going to come in and make a statement right away, and that's running back Bijan Robinson. I think being in that stadium and seeing how that Falcons team played, I think he's on a fast track. That turf in that stadium is really, really, really good turf. So I think he has all the makings to be as explosive and dynamic as he wants to be. I think the offensive line in Atlanta is a pretty decent offensive line. And I think when you look at some of the skill position players, especially if they're able to hold on to Cordell Patterson or bring him back in the fold, they have Drake London, who had a solid rookie year, and he's looking to build on that. Obviously, the question is the quarterback, but how do you help the quarterback? Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Now, this was supposed to be a solo show. This was supposed to be a solo show. But when my brother pops into the building, none of that matters. And if we got to pivot, we got to pivot. Wayne Breezy's in the building.
We ain't got to pivot. Listen, man, I know there's an echo. I don't know how to get rid of it, but I'll jump on and watch. I see you up here. I was like, oh, he's live? Let me hop on and see what Moses knowing today on this Friday. So we'll fix the echo at some point. But Moses,
wait, is it an echo even when you're not on?
I don't know. I just saw you in the queue, so I just jumped on. I didn't watch it. I think it's something with the setting. You probably don't got headphones on or something. Man.
I don't have my headphones on right now.
That would be the echo. But I just wanted to show you some love. I'll jump and watch it and then comment in the comment section, bro. But keep doing your thing, man.
I appreciate you, bro.
Yes, sir, man. Love you, man.
Love you.
Peace.
Wayne Breezy, everybody. That's my brother, man. He's been a great example of what it is to be consistent in this thing and giving content. And even recently, he's kind of taken a break from it to try kind of, recharge and refuel. And sometimes you need that. And when Wayne Breezy recharges and refuels and comes back on fire again, y'all don't want to miss that. I know I'm not going to miss it. I'm going to be a part of that. And we just going to keep it rolling. So that's my brother. So again, Bijan Robinson, adding him into that offense, I think is going to be absolutely dynamic for what they're able to do. And again, how do you help a young quarterback? But even if it's not Trey Lance, even if those are just rumors, they haven't been substantiated, even if they haven't reached out, if they decide to move forward with Desmond Ridder, how do you help a young quarterback develop? Well, one, he has to get reps. Kyle Shanahan, talking to you. But then two, you help him by having a dynamic running game. So that doesn't make you one-dimensional. He can kind of develop his passing and develop the chemistry with his wide receivers and his tight ends and his weapons. But then you're also able to run the football effectively to allow him, that breathing room that he needs. We got my family in the building. Terrence Allen, what's going on, cuz? Glad to see you. Glad you could make it. Breezy said, I'm reloaded. He says Atlanta is going to be fired with the weapons that they added. And Robinson as a pass catcher out of the backfield. Again, that is the beauty of what he's able to do. Not only run the ball effectively, but catch the ball out of the backfield. So I'm excited for Bijan Robinson. The second player I'm excited for from the Atlanta Falcons is going to be cornerback Clark Phillips. I think he's going to add an extra dynamic. I think he can move all over the place. He's probably going to play outside across from AJ Terrell, but he can also be used in the slot, playing that nickel position as well. So I think he's going to come in with a chip on his shoulder. He was slated to be drafted a little bit higher than he was. He kind of fell in the draft. And a lot of these guys, you see what they're made of, right? When that chip is on their shoulder, when they're supposed to be, or they're talked about being a first round or maybe second round pick, and then they kind of fall in the draft a little bit, you kind of see what they're made of. And either the projections were right and the teams were wrong in where they selected him, or, he fell in the draft for a reason. So this is the time. This is when training camp opens up. This is when you see, what these guys are made of. So I'm excited about that. Moving over to the Baltimore Ravens, I got to show love to little bro Zay Flowers. Watching him at Boston College these past few years, going to see my little brother play, you just see how explosive and how dynamic he is. One of the things that Baltimore needed to do was figure out this wide receiver core. After Steve Smith left, it's just been a hodgepodge of different bodies and no real production from that group. You drafted Zay Flowers. You bring in an Odell Beckham Jr. You already have Mark Andrews at the tight end position. So you want to make sure that you have dynamic elements and weapons for Lamar Jackson. One, to keep him healthy, but two, when that passing game is effective, then his running ability and the Baltimore Ravens running offense can be that much more effective as well. So I'm excited to see just how Zay matures coming from the college game to the pro game, playing in that particular offense, being close to home, all those good things. I'm excited for Zay. On the defensive side for Baltimore, Trenton Simpson. I think he has big shoes to fill. So obviously Baltimore last year, they made a trade for it's too many names, y'all. I keep telling y'all, it's too many names. Who's the linebacker they got from the Bears? Hold on. I got it. It's coming. So they went out and made the trade for Roquan Smith. But then in the draft, they go get Trenton Simpson. And apparently, Patrick Queen is on the trading block. Now, from the outside looking in, I would want to talk to my Baltimore insider, Bobby Trossett. Thank you, Bebop Jones. Appreciate that. He says Roquan Smith. I needed to get that jogged in my memory. But Patrick Queen has been playing really, really well for this Baltimore defense. And Patrick Queen and Roquan Smith together in that 3-4, I thought was one of the best duos in the middle of a defense. But there's rumblings that, Patrick Queen may be on his way out. And if that is the case, then the drafting of Trenton Simpson means that he is going to be that heir apparent next to Roquan Smith. Trenton Simpson has all of the athleticism in the world. Very, very dynamic, sideline to sideline. He showed us and displayed his speed at the combine. But one of the issues is maybe football IQ, maybe diagnosing plays, reading and reacting a little bit faster. Again, he has the athleticism, but does he have that football knowledge, that football IQ to kind of bring it all together? So I'm excited to see, particularly in the situation with what may happen with Patrick Queen, how he steps into that role. Is he intimidated by that, which he can be? You're playing on a Baltimore Ravens defense that in recent years has been one of the best in the NFL. When you talk about linebackers that have been there, you talk about the Ray Lewis and the Terrell Suggs and even the Peter Bullware. Like you talk about those guys, and now you have him playing next to Roquan Smith, one of the best in the league. How does he step into, that role? Does he rise to the occasion, or does he shrivel under that pressure? So that's definitely something we need to look at and something we need to monitor on that Baltimore defense. For the Bills, I'm excited about Osiris Torrance. He was not their first pick. Their first pick was Dalton Kincaid. But on a team that has a quarterback like Josh Allen, one of the things you want to do is always make sure that you can protect your quarterback. In addition to that, I think this offensive line needs to put more emphasis on creating running lanes for the backs to allow the rushing attack to be a little bit more effective, to limit some of those carries that Josh Allen has to take during a season. If that running game can be more effective, again, same thing we talked about in Atlanta. If the running game can be more effective, that's only going to help the passing game. The NFL is about being two-dimensional. You don't want to be one-dimensional. If you can only pass and you can't run, well, teams know that that's all you can do. Let's focus on stopping that. If you can only run and you can't pass, well, teams are going to stack the box and force you to beat them that way. Trust me, I know as a 49ers fan. So you can't be one-dimensional. And I think something that has hindered this Buffalo Bills team in past years is their inability to effectively run the ball. And that's where I think Osiris Torrance comes in. Solid offensive lineman. He's going to step in at guard. So he's going to affect that middle of the defense. It's a 5-man offensive line. He's not the only one, but he is the newest piece to kind of help add some grit, add some toughness. And I want to see how he handles that, how he handles, blocking and protecting Josh Allen, but also what he's going to bring in the running game to help this Buffalo offense be a little bit more dynamic. Defensively, I'm excited for Dorian Williams. He's kind of stepping in for Tremaine Edmonds, who now goes to Chicago. They've had really, really good linebackers in Buffalo lately, and Dorian Williams is the next in that iteration of Buffalo linebackers. He's a little bit smaller, a little bit undersized. He doesn't bring the size that a Tremaine Edmonds brings. Edmonds was 6'4", 240, something like that. Dorian is a little bit smaller, but he has the athleticism. He has the skill set. So I want to see how he fits in that defense. My man, Tyrone, what's going on, bro? It's been a minute, man. I hope all is well. Good to see you. Good to hear from you. We got to link up and connect soon, man. But it's been a while, but glad to see you. Good to see you. Thank you so much for tuning in and showing some love to the Mo's Knows Weekly Friday show. Kansas City Chiefs, man. Defending Super Bowl champions. Yeah. It's been made apparent that whoever the wide receivers are doesn't matter. And the analogy I bring to this is kind of the analogy that some folks on the NBA side say when it comes to a LeBron versus a Kobe or LeBron versus a Jordan, where LeBron needs all of this help in order to win a championship. So would you put a Patrick Mahomes in the Jordan category where he doesn't need all of that help? Yes, he still had Travis Kelce, but removing a Tyreek Hill was something that folks thought would not work. Like, he's too fast, he's too explosive, he's too dynamic. How are we going to make this work? And with Juju Smith-Schuster and Marquez Valdez-Scantling, they figured out a way to make it work. They figured out a way to have that offense still be prolific. Even when he's getting the ball, teams still can't find a way to stop Travis Kelce. And they won a Super Bowl. So because of this, the rookie I'm excited to see on this team is Rashee Rice. Him stepping into a wide receiver room where, is there a true number one in Kansas City? I know Terrence is in the building. He told me to stop hating on his team. Terrence, that's not ever going to happen unless they all of a sudden become trash. Is there a true number one? I mean, Marquez Valdez-Scantling is back. We have Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore. So obviously, veteran status gives those guys, a leg up. But Rasheed can come in, and maybe he doesn't become the number one wide receiver, but maybe he becomes a consistent 2 or a consistent 3 and is able to be a consistent contributor on this offense. He definitely has the capability to do it. He has the quarterback and he has the coaching. Like Tyrone said, great coaching is a blessing. I'm probably going to talk about this on a later show. Maybe not this show, maybe on a more specific show related to the 49ers. But Patrick Mahomes recently had a quote about Andy Reid where he's said he's so appreciative and so thankful that Andy Reid is his coach. And he said he loves Andy because Andy lets him play quarterback the way he wants to play the position, that being Patrick Mahomes. Andy Reid doesn't force Patrick to play the position the way Andy wants him to, because Andy realizes that Patrick is effective playing the position the way he knows how to. And how can I get the best out of what he likes to do and how he likes to play this position? How can I make the way he plays this position a strength for this team? I know that's going to rub some of the Niner fans the wrong way. I know. I know. But that's something that we got to touch on at a different point. But I'm excited for Rashee Rice. And I'm excited for Wanya Morris, offensive lineman going to that particular team. Their offensive line is absolutely fine. They bring over Donovan Smith. They have Joe Thuney. They have Creed Humphrey. They have Trey Smith. They have Jawan Taylor. Why would I be excited for Wanya Morris? Obviously, Wanya Morris is going to be a project for down the line. I think Donovan Smith is 30, but how he played last year in Tampa, he may be losing a step because of injuries, things of that nature. They brought in Jawan Taylor. He's a young guy, but you look at who could eventually take over that left tackle spot. Enter Wanya Morris. So I think he's somebody to watch out for. They spent a pretty decent draft pick on. I think he was second round. So I'm excited for what he's going to do in training camp. And maybe he fills that swing tackle role. So if something does happen to Donovan Smith or Jawan Taylor, knock on wood, we're not wishing that on anybody during training camp. We want everybody to come out healthy, but we know that that's not the case in the NFL. But maybe he comes in and fights for that swing tackle role to be the next man up in the event of any type of injury. So I'm excited to see what he has to say. Let's see what the resident Chiefs fan has to say. Extremely excited about Rice. And I think Sky Moore is going to have a great second season. I would agree there. I think Kadarius Toney might take off. I think he's found a situation where, he's already won. He's seen that, consistency in his effort produces really, really good results. I think the Giants moved on because of a maturity, personality type of situation. I feel like he feels wanted in Kansas City. He proved his value a little bit towards the end of the season and was effective in the Super Bowl. I think Kadarius Toney could take off. Building that chemistry, having a whole offseason with Pat, not just getting there in the middle of the season. I think Kadarius Toney might be scary. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, Terrence, and see what's happening out there. Bay Area Baller 18 says, "What up, Mose? What's going on, man? Glad to have you. Chiefs 100% the Super Bowl favorites." Absolutely. Terrence told me to stop hating, but if I'm being objective, they are definitely the Super Bowl favorites right now because defensively, they've added pieces. They've gotten better. Offensively, the offensive line stays intact. Travis Kelce's still there. Isaiah Pacheco looks like a beast. He's going to be better year two. Sky Moore is going to be better year two. Kadarius Toney is going to be better with a full off season. And you still have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid running the show. We got Inspiron 498 says, I agree. Kadarius is nice, a bit underrated due to being with the Giants. I agree. I think his time with the Giants, he didn't do himself justice. Again, attitude, maturity, that could have played a role in it. When you're on a team that isn't winning, you don't see a good plan. I could understand all of that completely. And then you have a new coach coming in. I don't believe Dayball was the coach that drafted him. I think that was the coach before. Was it that Judge in them? I think that was the Joe Judge era. So new coach coming in, not really jiving with, the entire situation. I think it was best for both sides to part ways. But again, I think Kadarius can do some really, really good things. I believe we should see a great improvement with the Steelers. I'm just saying. I think so. My 49ers do see the Steelers week 1, though. So if you see the improvement, it probably not going to be week 1. It's probably not going to be week 1. And Hopkins is still out. Listen, if DeAndre Hopkins goes to the Chiefs, I might not have a channel anymore. I might not watch. Like, if Hopkins goes to the Chiefs, that's nuts. That's nuts. If Hopkins goes to the Chiefs, the Super Bowl don't count if Pat don't throw for 6,000 yards. With Hopkins, Pat should throw for 6,000 yards. He got to throw for 6,000. With that offensive line, got good running backs. Andy Reid offensive system will allow him to do that. Defense is going to be better. Pat got to throw for 6,000 yards and like 75 touchdowns. He's got to have like an insane stat line. He has to have the best statistical season from a quarterback ever for the Super Bowl to count, because he already got 2. So just going out and winning the Super Bowl to me means nothing now. Like, he has to have the greatest statistical season a quarterback has ever had and win the Super Bowl for it to count to me. If not, I'm putting an asterisk by it. I'm not going to say Hopkins is washed, but he is over the hill. I will say this, Barry, but I want to see it, because he even said himself, if he does not put up 1,000 yards as a wide receiver, he'll retire. I still think he's able to do it. And I think if you're on a team where you have a quarterback that's consistently throwing for 5,000 plus yards, I think you can be one of those guys that has 1,000. So while I don't want it to happen, if it extends DeAndre Hopkins' career a couple years to go to Kansas City and play, I don't think any fan of football would be upset by that. Let's move on to some of these teams here. Chargers, rookies I'm excited about. Quentin Johnston, wide receiver. You say, why did they draft him? They have Keenan Allen. They have Mike Williams, who they're kind of like the same wide receiver. Why did they draft him? Well, again, if you're talking about Hopkins being maybe over the hill, Keenan Allen, while he's a great wide receiver, love his route running ability, he's been consistently injured and unavailable for this team. Same thing with Mike Williams. Big Mike Williams, great wide receiver, big body, big target, but he has those nagging injuries. So you have a young quarterback in Justin Herbert, who eventually either next year or the year after is going to get the bag. You want to make sure that you give him weapons for him to be successful. So adding another big body wide receiver, if you can get consistent play from Mike Williams and Quentin Johnston, while there is a shift on the defensive side to having larger corners, having your Richard Sherman 6'3" type guys, your 6'4" Tariq Woolen type guys, a lot of 6'2" corners out there. There are not many teams that have 2 or 3 of those guys. So if I have 6'5" Mike Williams and 6'4" Quentin Johnston. Like, I have two big body wide receivers who can go up and get the ball at the highest point. That makes Justin Herbert's life that much easier. So most definitely, I'm excited to see what he does in this offense and how he fits in that rotation with that wide receiver group. On defense, Diane Henley. This Chargers defense has been so good on paper, but they haven't been able to stay healthy. Injuries to Joey Bosa, injuries to Derwin James. They get J.C. Jackson, he tears his ACL. It's just been an unfortunate set of injuries for this Chargers defense where we haven't been able to see them at full strength. Hopefully we get to see them at full strength this year with a dynamic linebacker like Diane Henley. I think it could be special. If they can stay healthy, it could be really special. You got Diane Henley with Kenneth Murray. You bring over Eric Kendricks. Linebacker core set. Just stay healthy. Just stay healthy. Moving on. Next team. Miami Dolphins. Woo! Knowing who their offensive coordinator is, Mike McDaniel, knowing how special he can cook up a running game, I'm excited to see Devon Achane. I think Devon Achane is a younger, maybe more explosive and more dynamic version of Raheem Mostert, who's on that roster. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can do a lot with the ball in his hands. So speedy, so shifty, so quick. Him in that particular offense. You just look at the speed. As a defensive coordinator, I probably wouldn't be scared, but I know I'm gonna have my work cut out for me. I got to worry about Tyreek Hill. I got to worry about Jalen Waddle. I got to worry about Raheem Mostert. Now I got to worry about Devon Achane. Like, speed for days. Speed for days. So him in this offense, I think, can be really exciting. And when we talk about speed, they could add an update speed at that tight end position. I'm excited to see Elijah Higgins transition from being a big body wide receiver at Stanford to now transitioning to tight end in the NFL. A little bit undersized, 6'3", 234. So you worry about him being an effective blocker in the running game. But having him transition to tight end, what you're worried about initially is his impact in the passing game. And while he might not be a 4-2, 4-3 guy like Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, he does bring you speed at the tight end position because he's a former wide receiver. So he's not going to bring you traditional tight end speed. And I think using that wide receiver type speed at 4.5, 4.6, I know there are some tight ends that run faster than that, but using that wide receiver type speed to take advantage of some of the slower linebackers and safeties in this league, I think could benefit him, particularly in this offense when there are so many pieces that the defense are going to be focused on before they get to the tight end spot. Shout out to TJack478. He says, do you think the Chargers will fire their coach if the team doesn't do well? I think so. I 100% think that this is Brandon Staley's last year. I think the collapse last year against the Jaguars kind of sealed his fate, that this is a make or break year for him. And not like, make the wild card, get into the playoffs. We know it's going to be tough to win the division because you have the Chiefs in that division. The Broncos are going to be better with Sean Payton at head coach. So it's going to be tough to win the division. But even if you make the wild card, you at least have to win one round and get to the divisional and make some noise. So I think he's had a lot of instances in his tenure where his decision-making wasn't the best. His time management wasn't the best at the end of the games. And again, like I said, that collapse last year, kind of the writings on the wall that this is Brandon Staley's last year. We have you a great young quarterback who's, if he isn't top 5, he's for sure top 10. You have the offensive weapons. Defensively on paper, Joey Bosa, Eric Kendricks, Kenneth Murray, Khalil Mack, J.C. Jackson, Derwin James, Asante Samuel Jr. You have the pieces that you need. It's time to show us some ROI. We need a return on our investment in you as our head coach. And if you can't get it done, then we need to find somebody out there who can. Shout out to Rich Kelts. Yee yee. Appreciate you for stopping by, man, as always. Moving on to the Saints. I'm excited to see what Brian Brzee does in the middle of that defense. The Saints' defensive line has already been good. That defensive tackle position really hasn't had a superstar, but they've had quality guys in the rotation. I think with who Brian Brzee was at Clemson, I think he has the ability to become a superstar on that defensive line. So that gives them somebody in the middle who's effective at both rushing the passer and stopping the run. And then I'm excited for my young boy, Jordan Howden. If you've tuned into the channel, also, if you like draft content, consider giving me a follow here if you're new to the channel. If you're watching this and this may be your first time here, if you like draft content, mock drafts for all 32 teams, consider giving us a subscription over here at Mo's Knows. Jordan Howden was one of my favorite prospects this year. I knew my 49ers were going after a safety if he was available. I wanted us to take him. Obviously, we went another route. We'll touch on that in a second. But I'm excited to see can Jordan Howden step in and be that Marcus Williams replacement. I know they have Marcus May, who came over from the Jets. And then they have Tyrann Mathieu, who's getting a little bit up there in age. But can Jordan Howden kind of solidify and set himself up as safety of the future and kind of that Marcus Williams role? So I'm excited to see that. Again, one of my favorite players. So definitely going to keep an eye on him. Shout out to Mrs. Mose Knows. She talked about some hey Mose, like she don't know who I am. She always playing hey Mose, like you don't know who I am. Like I'm not upstairs from you right now. She's funny. Shout out to my wife. Love her to death. Giants, cornerback Deonte Banks. Excited to see what he adds to this defense. We know they can stop the run. Leonard Williams, Dexter Lawrence. We know they can get after the passer now with Kayvon Thibodeau. They got pieces on the back end. Xavier McKinney. But I'm excited to see what Deonte Banks is able to do at corner. And then I'm more excited for what Jalin Hyatt offers on the offensive side. Giants are still trying to figure some things out with Saquon Barkley and his contract. He says he does not want to have the richest running back contract, but he wants to be compensated for what he's able to bring to the offense. I think he should, but we understand the value of the running back in the NFL currently, and it just isn't there. But Daniel Jones getting that additional contract, if they're able to bring Saquon Barkley back. Again, wide receivers kind of up there in the air. Isaiah Hodgins, Darius Slayton, Paris Campbell, Sterling Shepard struggles with injuries. Jalin Hyatt maybe doesn't become the number one, but he has a chance to become a solid number 2 or number 3, a consistent option for Brian Daboll and Daniel Jones in his offense with his dynamic speed and what he's able to do, how he's able to stretch the field and open things up for everybody else underneath. You add Darren Waller, who's going to help you at that tight end position, up the seams, across the middle, all that underneath mid-level stuff. So I want to see the dynamic that Jalin Hyatt adds to this offense for Daniel Jones and how he's able to up his level of play with such a dynamic weapon. And lastly, my San Francisco 49ers, Jair Brown. Shout out to Jair Brown from Jersey. Depending on my schedule tomorrow, I know the missus got a little brunch that she's going to. But I got word that Jair Brown is doing a football camp in the Trenton area, for kids that he's going to be at. So if I can, I might try to pop up there, see if I can get, a little rat with Jair Brown. Maybe see if I can get him on the channel for a little bit of an interview. But I'm excited to see what he offers on the football field. We know the 49ers defense is one of the best defenses in the league. Not tooting our own horn. We have a solid safety in Talanoa Hufanga, who is always around the ball. And Jair Brown is the same way. He's always around the football. So with our pass rush, with our ability to stop the run, with our front seven, that's just going to allow him to be able to roam free, play instinctual football, and just get after it. So I'm excited to see what he's going to do. And then I'm excited for Robert Bill Jr. Do we have pass rushers on our team? Absolutely. We know about Nick Bosa. We bring in Javon Hargrave from the Eagles. We have Eric Armstead. We've got Drake Jackson. We signed Cleveland Farrell. But Robert Beal, being an undersized defensive end, he has that quick twitch and that explosiveness. So I'm excited to see how he incorporates himself into this defensive line rotation and what kind of role he carves out for himself. How will he be able to secure snaps, not only in training camp and in preseason, but during the regular season, to be a consistent part of the rotation, getting after the quarterback for the 49ers defense. It's not going to be easy. So if he's able to carve out any type of role, consistent role for himself, I think that's going to speak volumes of what he's able to do and how he's able to do it. T-Jack says, let's keep it 100. Do you really think Derek Carr can lead the Saints to the playoffs and possible conference game? Now, that's two different scenarios, T-Jack. That's two different scenarios for me. Can he lead them to the playoffs? Yes. Because if we look at that division, we have the Atlanta Falcons, who are going to be led by Desmond Ridder. We have the Carolina Panthers, who are going to be led by rookie Bryce Young. And then we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are either going to be led by Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask. It's not far-fetched to say the New Orleans Saints have a really good shot of winning their division. You win your division, you're in the playoffs. Can Derek Carr, as the best quarterback in this division right now, lead a Saints team with pieces? We're talking about a Saints team with pieces, T-Jack. They're not scrubs. Their offensive line is still pretty good. Ryan Ramczyk, Cesar Ruiz, Eric McCoy, Andrews Pete, Trevor Penning, right? Chris Olave, not even worried about Michael Thomas. A.T. Perry, rookie who should come in and do some good things. James Washington, veteran who should do some good things. Alvin Kamara. They bring over Jamal Williams. They add Keandre Miller at the running back position. And then defensively, we talked about Cameron Jordan. They got Brian Brzee. Demario Davis is still there. That secondary is crazy. Paulson Adebo, Tyrann Mathieu, Marcus May, Marshawn Lattimore, Alontae Taylor, Jordan Howden, Jonathan Abram, Bradley Roby. Like, the defense is solid. They add another pass rusher in Isaiah Foskey from Notre Dame. Can the Saints win the division? Absolutely. So they'll win the division, and they'll have a home game in the playoffs. Getting to the conference championship game, to me, in the NFC, they would have to go through the 49ers, which is, to me, is a no. They're going to have to go through Philadelphia, which is a no. Dallas, which is a no. And I hate to say that about Dallas. I hate to give them any type of positive affirmation here. But San Fran, Philly, Dallas, no. Can the Saints beat the Giants? Slightly, the edge goes to the Giants. Can the Saints beat the Lions? And we're talking about the Detroit Lions. Slightly, the edge might go to Detroit. So when you're talking about getting to the conference championship game, that's They're going to have to play wild card weekend. They're going to have to play in the divisional round. And then they're going to have to get that. They're going to have to win 2 games to get to the championship. Maybe towards the end of the season, they get on fire, right? Maybe they win a division. They have a home game. Maybe they play a team like the Minnesota Vikings or I don't another team I missed. So they got to get through Philly, Dallas, and San Fran, which I think are automatic no's. I talked about the Giants. I talked about the Lions. And then the Seahawks. The Seahawks got better. And yeah, their quarterback is Geno Smith. But offensively, they had rookies on the offensive line who played really, really well last year. And with Abraham Lucas and Charles Cross, rookies that played really, really well. They still have DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. You add Jackson Smith and Jigba to that wide receiver core. Kenneth Walker is coming back and is going to be better in year 2. The defense got better. At some point, Jordan Brooks is coming back. They add Devin Bush. They bring in Bobby Wagner. They draft Devin Witherspoon. Hopefully, Jamal Adams can stay healthy. Tyreek Woolen's going into year 2. Can the Saints beat Seattle, even at home? I think that's a tough out. So I think the edge goes to Seattle there. So that's 6 teams that they have to get through that they aren't better than. Now, is it a possibility that, like I said, they could get hot? They get the wild card game at home. Maybe they play Detroit. Maybe they play the Rams. If somehow the Commanders or the Vikings find their way into the playoffs, can they beat one of those teams and get to the divisional? Sure. The divisional is going to be tough. They're going to play Philly, Dallas, San Fran, Seattle, Giants, something like that. That's gonna be a tough task. So I think they'll be decent. I think they'll be good. I definitely think they can win the division. But I don't see them making a deep run into the playoffs. I don't think that the team is built for that. And this is what we'll find out in training camp, guys. This is all a part of what training camp is about. Seeing who is going to step up to the plate. If you have a great summer, starting in the month of July all the way through August, getting to September, and you can find a way to string wins together and build momentum. There have always been Cinderella stories, throughout the NFL. That's going to be something exciting to talk about. I'll write that down as a topic as we get kind of deeper into August, as we start to dissect and evaluate some of these preseason games and what players stepped up, what teams look like they're gearing up for a run, who could be our dark horses, our sleepers, our possible Cinderella teams this year. I feel like the Giants were a Cinderella team last year. No one really expected them to be as good as they were and to make it into the playoffs. So maybe the Saints have a run like the Giants did last year. It's definitely possible. It's why you play the games. It's why I'm excited every year when we get to this point because now we get that much closer to football. So next week around this time, next Friday, let me take a look at my calendar. Next Friday is the 21st. I think most teams will at least have rookies reported. Some teams don't report until the 25th. So next week's episode, we'll take a look at some of the teams that we didn't look at today. And we'll talk about either some rookies that we're expecting to have a good impact. Maybe we'll take a look at some second and third year players that are still trying to, make a name for themselves, that are trying to, break into the starting rotation, trying to kind of break that barrier from being a good player into superstardom. And we'll start dissecting some training camp battles. Who's on the roster bubble? What are some position battles? At each of the skill positions: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. We'll take a look at some of the most intriguing position battles around the league, and try to dissect, what those battles are. And I'll give you my opinion on, who I think could win that particular position battle. And we'll kind of do that as, teams are still reporting. Most teams have veterans reporting between the 22nd and the 25th of July. I think the latest any team reports, I think I saw somebody here who reports on, somebody report on the 26th. No. So all NFL teams, the latest that any team is reporting is July 25th. So yeah, next week we'll take a look at some of those positional training camp battles, kind of do a guess as to who is going to win that battle. And then throughout, the rest of July into August in these preseason games, we'll kind of rank those battles and keep track of them until we kind of get to the end of August. And when that 53-man roster needs to be finalized, we'll take a look back at who we said we thought would win, and see if they actually did win that position battle, and make that 53-man roster. So it's going to be an exciting time here at Mo's Nose. It's going to be an exciting time in the NFL. Guys getting the pads on, getting the helmets on, getting back into the swing of things, getting that mid-season conditioning up, learning new plays, installing new parts of the playbook for the new coaches taking over teams in their first year, for coaches who have been there for a while and want to add new, different wrinkles. Again, such an exciting, amazing time. And I appreciate you guys taking this journey with me. I wish I could do a longer show today, but Daddy got some things to do. Date night with the Mrs. Mo's Nose. Me and her are going out tonight. So we're dropping the kiddos off at grandmom's house, so we can spend some of that one-on-one time with each other. That's my way that I recharge, so that I could be active and present for you guys. She supports the channel. She supports me. So I want to support her and give her that time that she needs. Again, love and appreciate you guys. Any comments, throw those down in the comment section. Any suggestions on shows as we go throughout this off season, through training camp and the preseason, throw those suggestions in there. Love interacting with you guys always and hearing your opinions as well. Until next time, love and appreciate y'all. Y'all have a great weekend. See you next week. Peace.